You know that feeling, right? When you dive into something new, a hobby, maybe learning an instrument, full of excitement, and then, well, it just ends up gathering dust, like that half-finished painting or the guitar in the corner. Today, we're doing a deep dive into why that happens, using insights from the shifting tides of interest. And kind of perfectly, our word of the day speaks right to that feeling. It's desultory. It basically means, lacking a real plan or purpose, sort of happening randomly, or maybe just disappointing progress.
Exactly. Desultory really nails that feeling of things becoming, well, unfocused, maybe not going where you thought they would. And this deep dive, it's really about unpacking the why. Why do we lose that initial spark? What does the shifting tides of interest tell us about how we engage with things?
So, reading through the shifting tides of interest, what really jumped out at me was the why. Why do we lose that initial, buzz? From your perspective, what was one of the maybe more surprising reasons the source gives for our passion just fading?
Well, one thing the source highlights is what it terms the effort-expectation gap. It's this idea where our initial excitement kind of blinds us. We don't really see the actual effort, the mental load that a new thing will take.
Ah, okay. So we think it'll be smooth sailing.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We expect quick rewards, easy progress, but the reality is often much tougher. And that gap between expectation and reality can cause a real crash in motivation and how much we value sticking with it.
That effort expectation gap. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I can see that. But if it's so common, why do we keep falling into that trap? Does the shifting tides talk about like a specific psychological reason?
It does, absolutely. It points squarely at the planning fallacy, which is, our tendency to underestimate time, cost, hurdles, all of it, even when we've messed up estimates before.
Right. We plan like everything's going to go perfectly.
Exactly. We ignore the potential bumps in the road. And that optimism, well, it sets us up for a fall when things inevitably get difficult.
Okay, so underestimating the work and this kind of flawed planning. What else? Are there other common reasons the shifting tides mentions for, losing steam?
Yeah, beyond those two big ones, the source also mentions sometimes it's just straightforward passion fatigue. That initial intensity just can't last forever. Or there's what they call novelty-seeking displacement, basically getting distracted by the next shiny thing before the current interest really takes root.
Ah, the shiny object syndrome.
Sort of, yeah. And sometimes, of course, it's just a mix of all these things happening at once.
The shifting tides of interest uses a really good comparison, doesn't it? Likening that initial burst of interest to like a new relationship. That whole honeymoon phase idea where everything feels fresh and easy, it feels great, lets you explore without pressure.
It does, and that phase is important. Lets us dip our toes in. But the shifting tides argues that this initial rush often hides what comes next. They call it frictional engagement. It's not just hitting a snag. It's the point where easy exploration turns into real challenge.
Yeah.
It demands actual effort.
Frictional engagement. Huh. So it's not just a negative thing, not just a barrier.
Not at all. Actually, the source argues it's the opposite. This frictional engagement, this pushing through the hard parts, that's the catalyst. That's what turns that initial, maybe superficial interest into something deeper, something intrinsically motivating.
So the difficulty itself is key.
Precisely. It transforms fleeting interest into real commitment. It's in those tough spots that you really find out how much something means to you, moving past the honeymoon into something, well, more resilient. So embracing that friction isn't just about gritting your teeth. It's actually fundamental to building a deep, lasting connection.
That's a really powerful way to think about difficulty. So whether it's that canvas in the attic, the nearly done puzzle, or, the gym card being used as a coaster, the shifting tides of interest gives us handles on why. That effort expectation gap, the planning fallacy, and understanding this frictional engagement. What's our quote of the day? Something that captures this journey, especially when we feel a bit lost.
It's a classic from J.R.R. Tolkien. Not all those who wander are lost. And it's a great thought to leave you with, particularly thinking about those desultory interests we talked about. Maybe sometimes that wandering, that temporary dip in focus, isn't really failure. Maybe it's part of the discovery process.
Or maybe it's the real test.
Could be. The test of what truly matters to you. Recognizing and actually leaning into those challenging phases, that frictional engagement, that might be where the truly deep, lasting connection begins. So maybe the next time you feel that initial excitement start to fade, ask yourself, is this really the end? Or is it maybe just the start of what it really takes to make this interest truly yours?